Ooh, maybe the LJ?
We will get to that right now, right here on Good Morning Football. We are presented by the Home Depot. Happy Tuesday, January 7th. Kay and Nate and Kyle and Peter and Lead Block.
Lead Block, the program.
Let's go to the NFC side of things, shall we? In Green Bay, the marriage has worked between LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, but it's a mix now of experience and a first-timer, with LaFleur having his first experience this far along as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. He'll be facing the veteran duo, though, of Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll on Sunday. Now, LaFleur said that he knows his team will have to bring their A-game against Seattle. Take a look.
We need everybody at their best this weekend in order to advance. And again, it's got a lot of respect for Coach Carroll. He's been doing it a really long time at a really high level, and we know that he'll have his team prepared.
Both quarterbacks are Super Bowl winners. As you can see on the other side of the NFC, we've got Jimmy Garoppolo making his first ever playoff appearance, and Kirk Cousins, who just won his first career playoff game, a huge one, a stunner in New Orleans on Sunday. He's 1-0 now in the playoffs. Let's dabble into this NFC playoff picture. Nate, who is the most intriguing QB in this divisional round?
Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has everything going for him right now. He has a stud rookie wide receiver, big, strong, fast. Tyler Lockett, who was a speedster. And I feel like Marshawn Lynch being behind him, when he was talking to Michelle Tafoya and she brought up Marshawn Lynch's name, he lit up. And I haven't seen that type of like joy in a long time. I know he had Chris Carson and Rashad Penny, who were phenomenal, but having that old school attitude back, I think that just brings a different element to this squad. We've always described these guys as a good team. Russell Wilson as a winner. When was the last time we described them as nasty, hard-nosed, tough, bullies? And I think Marshawn Lynch brings that element, and he brings that to Russell Wilson, which I think this team needs.
Old man Russell Wilson in these playoffs?
Yeah.
Strangely, I look at Rodgers, and I look at Rodgers by association. We just saw Matt LaFleur talking there. He's going against Pete Carroll, who feels like he's been in 100 playoff games. LaFleur in his first. And also, there's this rap with Rodgers and this Packers team that no one knows what to make of them, or that they're fake good, as we say, or that, they're the worst 13-3 team ever. Actually, factually, it does kind of back that up. There's never been a 13-3 team with a lower point differential. That's a fact. They're plus 63 on the season. No one's ever had that. What are your memories of this Packers team? Like, if you just right now spin through your memories of the 2019 Packers, I remember them getting stomped by San Francisco. I remember that really weird loss at the Chargers. And I remember them beating Dallas when Aaron Jones went nuts and had 4 touchdowns and got fined and everything for that. But, that's it. So we have this prolific talent, and we all kind of believe in a vacuum in Rodgers, but are they really that good? Their record is good. The quarterback is good. I don't know how good they are, and the time has run out. This is now the bleeper get off the pot. If they don't win this weekend, they were the worst 13-3 team ever.
I hate to do legacy questions.
Go ahead.
What would this mean to you if Aaron Rodgers beats Russell Wilson and now is going another NFC Championship game for his legacy?
It's a conflicted legacy because we love Seattle, Green Bay, and it's always so weird, and there's witchcraft and everything. How many of those does Rodgers walk out of as winning? All those Fail Marys, all that. That game in Seattle with the missed non was the worst loss of Rodgers' career. Rodgers needs this. Russ doesn't. Rodgers needs it.
It's a good point, man. Very valid. Because
it's not right down the middle.
Russ has only been in 8 years. We forget Russ is so young. Like, if you look at recent years, Russell in the last 8 years has been to 2 Super Bowls. Aaron Rodgers, it's been a while since he's tasted that.
There's also this weird push and pull with Seattle fans and the Seattle media because here, Lamar Jackson doesn't get unanimous first-team All-Pro votes. People voted for Russell Wilson. 3 votes went to Russell Wilson. And people were outraged. It was trending on Twitter.
True.
Look at all these idiots who didn't pick Lamar.
Yeah.
And the Seattle base would say, now, hold on a second. We love what Lamar Jackson did. Russell Wilson carried this team this year. And I feel like going into Philly and now Russell Wilson going into Lambeau, if he can string another victory and then we somehow either have to play, obviously, San Francisco or Minnesota at home back in Seattle, this could be a magical year for Russell Wilson where he puts his stake in the game and says, I'm the quarterback of the generation. And yet Garoppolo's the one that's most intriguing to me. I mean, Garoppolo to me
has to be, right?
It's fascinating because you've got this whole story about him always being on the Patriots but never being the guy.
Yeah.
Now he goes here. He threw 5 interceptions in a practice, and we blew up our entire show program to talk about it in the offseason.
I remember
about a
that.
5-interception practice.
Yeah.
And now he's the #1 seed. Garoppolo, this is your moment. This is your time. Garoppolo, shut everybody up. You're the man.
Well, let me turn it back on you. You look at the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins, he won that big playoff game. Garoppolo has been in the playoffs, but he's never played in a playoff game. Who do you think has a more likely chance?
Of what, though? Of winning or of falling apart?
Falling apart, straight.
I mean, I have no doubt that Cousins will bring it. He already brought it last week. That was his fall apart game.
Still zeroed out?
So by default, is your answer maybe Garoppolo looks at the bright lights and doesn't play as well?
But when in this season has that happened? I mean, the Garoppolo.
Don't tell me about the regular season, bro.
Fair enough.
This is playoffs. He's the only quarterback in the playoffs right now that has not played in the playoffs. And that's a big deal. You know it. You've seen bigger stars worth more fall apart.
I would think home after wins against Seattle in Week 17 on the road and in New Orleans on the road and that huge victory against the Rams on a Saturday night, I would think Garoppolo's not going to be scared of the playoff moment. I would think he's been there with the Patriots, and now it's finally his time, and he rises to the occasion. I'm not scared of it. I think both those quarterbacks are locked in, dialed, and I don't think there's going to be any fear factor.
Who do you have more faith in?
You know what? I feel like the win that Kirk Cousins just dealt the Saints, it did so much for his confidence. And not that he needed it. Kirk Cousins is a made man. I think his confidence in his squad, vice versa, just the team traveling. I don't think there's any fear now. Like, what's the worst that can happen? They lose to San Francisco, who's looked at as the best team. But on the flip side, San Francisco now feeling all the pressure. They've been sitting at home on ice for 2 weeks. Kyle said it. They're relaxing. They're cooling.
If the Vikings lose, okay, great run. If the Niners lose, they gag.
So who's feeling the pressure?
You think that's how they feel in Minnesota, though, in that locker room among that team? Like, oh, we already beat the
No. I'm talking about the
Saints were
perception
good?
of football fans. I think the
I'm
pressure.
talking about how the quarterbacks feel approaching this game. You're talking about how they feel. They feel like they've accomplished something. They trust each other. So I'm not talking about how we feel about them. How do they feel about themselves? Is it enough for them to go to New Orleans and take out the Saints? Absolutely not.
Yeah, they already took out the Saints. You mean take out the 49ers?
Yeah.
Is it enough that they took down the Saints?
Yeah.
No, it's not. They have to go into the Bay Area and do that. They're not
one win helps another. I feel like beating the Saints in the Dome, regardless if we say the mystique is gone, for football players, it's still tough to play in the playoffs in New Orleans. Now you're going to San Francisco. To be honest, let's just keep it real. If you look at Drew Brees and the Saints versus the 49ers and his squad, you're thinking to yourself, it's tougher to play against Drew Brees in New Orleans. So if I'm the Minnesota Vikings, I'm going into this thing saying, listen, we shut down Michael Thomas, the best wide receiver. We shut down Alvin Kamara, and we shut down Drew Brees. He turned the ball over twice against us. You think we're scared of Jimmy Garoppolo, who's never played a playoff game? Nah, those guys are good. And I think the pressure is on San Francisco.
Cousins or Garoppolo?
I think I have more faith in San Francisco. Garoppolo, until we know, we don't know. But I think it's kind of naive to say that the Saints are tougher than the Niners. Like, we're underselling the Niners, and we have all year. And I think I know the reason why. There's some optics with San Francisco where, like, they don't have a superstar wide receiver. They don't have a Von Miller on defense. Like, they're very complete throughout and throughout without a lot of, I mean, their biggest star is their tight end. Think about that. And their cornerback.
Buckner, Bosa, they've got some stars.
Great players, not stars. Okay. Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa with, 8 sacks or something, he's really good. I just think if you look at New Orleans, like, they're so flashy and they're so New Orleans. I still think San Francisco is the most complete team, though. I really do.
Best supporting cast in the NFC playoffs, you think is San Francisco?
I do. I think they don't have as many 9s and 10s, but they have so many 7s and 8s. I think they're different and complete in a different way. And I think they're juggernauts.
The version of the Vikings that we saw on Sunday, though, with a healthy Cook and a healthy Thielen and a healthy Diggs, I mean,
it was good.
That was a really complete team. And the defense will not get enough credit this week because we're going to talk about Cousins so much. Danielle Hunter was a nightmare in that game.
Caused the fumble.
Was giving Brees fits. Like, this hell. And you want to talk real. DJ Jones is a nose tackle for the 49ers. Great player.
Tell us about DJ Jones.
Stops the run. He's out. He got injured in the end of the season. Dalvin Cook up the gut. Like, that is a major issue for the 49ers defense. If they just feed the ball to Dalvin, they can take the game and put it in their corner. And this Vikings team is fearless. Like, this is not going to be a slam dunk for the 49ers by any means because the Vikings are healthy and now all of a sudden are this, like, confidence whirlwind coming into the stadium.
We did the same question and same conversation with the AFC, so I'm going to bring up the coaching again here in even that matchup at San Francisco. You do have Zim, who's now 2-2 in the playoffs. He was facing questions about how he can perform in the playoffs going up against Shanahan. There's some familiarity there between him and the quarterback of the Vikings.
Yeah, that's what I'm into. I love the chess match.
Connective tissue.
Kirk Cousins was a 4th-round pick for the Redskins. They had the first overall pick, Robert Griffin. Kirk Cousins' offensive coordinator that year was Kyle Shanahan. And Kyle Shanahan and his father said, you know what? We're better off with Kirk Cousins than the number 1 overall pick. Sorry, owner, Mr. Snyder, or number 2 overall pick. We're going to go with this guy. And Shanahan loved Cousins. Cousins loved Shanahan. Shanahan bounces around to Cleveland, to Atlanta. Shanahan and Cousins have a special thing, though, a special thing. And I don't know if that works in Cousins' favor or if that works in Kyle Shanahan's favor, where he's like, I know everything about this quarterback, what makes him tick, his
Strengths,
tendencies?
weaknesses.
Or does Cousins say, I know everything about that offensive coordinator and that play caller. I know what he can do. Let's do this. It's fascinating.
Shanahan is a mastermind. That would scare me.
2 weeks to prepare,
him knowing
too.
the ins and outs of Kirk Cousins with 2 weeks to prepare and playing at home. More on these matchups all day long.